Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!
New week. Alright, lesson 9. I think we talked a little bit about inverse operations, but we're gonna break down just our operations. Now, I know you guys know your multiplication tables, and like at least the important ones and things like that, but let's go back to what multiplication is. And multiplication is just fast adding. So like 3 times 2 is just 2 being added 3 times. Or you could say, or it's 3 being added 2 times, okay? So it's like either 3 2s or 2 3s, right? So when we talk about the rules for sign numbers, if I want to multiply 3 times -2, well, that's just 3 -2s, right? So -2 plus -2 plus -2. And what does that equal? What's -2 plus another -2 plus another -2? -6. Remember, when you add negatives together, they stay negative. They become more negative, okay? It's kind of like in life. If you're a negative person, and you hang out with a negative person, then you're going to become even more negative. Okay. So, what about this? What if I said like -3 times 2? Well, what does it mean to have -3 2's? Well, this means you're going to add -2 3 times. But what if you add 2 -3 times? What does it mean to add something negative amount of times? What operation is that? Subtraction. So if I'm gonna have -3 2's, I'm gonna subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2. So what happens if you're at 0 and you subtract 2, you get to -2, -4, -6. So same thing. This is a little bit more easier to grasp. 3 -2's. So that leads us to this. -3 times -2. For a while I was trying to figure out a way or see if anyone knew how to explain this. Well, why mathematically do 2 negatives make a positive when you multiply them? And no one really had a good explanation. But I like this idea of you're adding -2 -3 times. So remember, when you're adding something a negative amount of times, you're subtracting. So I'm going to subtract a -2, subtract a -2, and subtract a -2. Okay? And what do we do at subtraction? Chicken scratch. Bok, 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 and bok, bok. So what is that? That's just one big positive addition problem. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. Over there. Oh, you had another chance. Oh, bummer. That's all right. I just kind of threw it on you, literally. I literally threw it on you and you weren't ready. You didn't do your warm-up, line drills and things. So sorry. Okay. Oh, actually, she made that shot. She didn't miss. All right, so here's the rules. This is the rules for multiplication, but really, they're the same rules for division. Multiplying and dividing. So basically, if you have the same signs or like signs, what do? what's the answer going to be? If it's a positive times a positive or a negative times, these, see how these are the same signs, the like signs? You're always going to end up with a positive, right? So positive. So if you have unlike signs, doesn't matter what order or which one's bigger, you're always going to end up with a negative answer. So if it's 3 times -2 or -3 times 2 or -2 times 3 or 2 times -3, it doesn't matter what order and which one's bigger, like it does with addition, it's always negative. That's nice. Well, let's go backwards because division is just multiplication backwards, right? So what happens when you go 6 divided by -2? You get -3. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Okay? So unlike signs, negative. What's -6 divided by a +2? A negative divided by a positive is a negative. Okay? What's a negative divided by a negative? It's a positive. So the same rules apply to division as they do multiplication, which kind of makes sense because whenever you multiply or divide, like -6 divided by -2, you can always change any division problem into a multiplication problem, right? Copy dot flop, -6 times -1/2, the reciprocal. So it makes sense that the same rules apply to division as they do multiplication. Okay? That's lesson 9. Okay? There wasn't a lot of stuff there. Basically, it's just the rules for multiplying and dividing sign numbers. Okay? If you can remember that, great. The trickiest part is remembering that when you add 2 negatives, it stays negative. But when you multiply 2 negatives, they cancel out and it becomes positive. Okay? Can you guys remember that? You guys did this last year before that, probably. But, all right, let's do lesson 10.
Flack math! Give me some math and I'll give you some flack. Flack math!